So, our favorite celebrities and influencers, a lot of them have actually been homeschooled. But this is a subject area that people don't talk about enough, and a lot of people tend to focus on the cons of homeschooling. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the benefits of homeschooling and how it's enabled so many of the people that we know and love today to be as successful as they are. So if you're interested, then please stay tuned for the video. Hello and welcome to Queendom TV. If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to comment your thoughts about homeschooling in general. I would love to hear what you guys have to say, and obviously like the video if you do like the video. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because homeschooling is a subject area that I'm very, very passionate about. Although a lot of people seem to kind of not get why I'm so passionate about it. And I started to think about, a lot of these child stars that we speak about on my channel, a lot of them have been homeschooled or have had some level of non-traditional public schooling. Now, the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because I think this is something we really need to address, because a lot of people talk about a lot of the negatives from homeschooling, which are things like, or as this is what people say, although I don't agree with these points. I don't agree with all of these points, but I'll say what they are anyway. They say stuff like, that children don't get to see other children, or it's good to be in a group setting where you learn, or it's good to have the structure, or parents are not as well equipped and well trained as teachers, and the list goes on and on and on, right? However, I want to pose this one thing. First things first, for a lot of these child stars that we've seen, would they have been able to do the jobs and the roles that they did if they were not being somewhat homeschooled? No, they would not. And here, my friends, is exactly where my point comes from. Because the thing about normal schooling, it's the same thing like work for the normal adult. If you're an adult that works for yourself, in a whatever capacity, or has made a very flexible working schedule for yourself within the job that you're in, then you will find you have a lot more freedoms that other people don't have in your life to be able to do other things. If you want to pick up going to a particular fitness class, that happens during the day. If you want to even have a different hobby, or maybe start a side business or a side hustle, as people call it, and things like that. It works the same. But if you're in a job where you're in every day, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, when also is the same time a lot of other things, institutions are also working, institutions you might want to be involved in, you might find it very difficult to do anything outside of just your job. And I think that's the same with school. I think I've been looking into homeschooling for a long time, and the thing about homeschooling is that as long you get to have a flexible schedule with your child, make sure they're getting their education, but make sure they can also get into the things for them that matter. Now, not everybody is going to enjoy and love school. In fact, I think school is, the more and more the school system is going forward, the worse and worse it's becoming. And the more and more I'm just feeling like they're just indoctrination camps, where for whoever is in control or in power to take advantage of the fact that here is a place where you're going to find, the youngest generation living alive right now, listening to everything that they're being told and doing examinations based on what they're being told, and walking into the world with that knowledge, that information they've been given as factual knowledge. One of the simplest and easiest examples of how we've seen that this has been negative is in the form of history. People have spoken about how I've said how, like, I gave 2 examples of the history that I learned in the United Kingdom. The first example that I gave is that although we learned a lot of world history and even American history, funnily enough, some of it over here, they interestingly, let's say, did not include, let's say, how the American people got their independence, which is something I had to go and research for myself. And actually, I learned a lot of negative things about the British people when I did that research. Another example of that is how people spoke a lot, with a lot of this Black Lives Matter thing, which, by the way, I'm not a supporter of Black Lives Matter. I'm not part of Black Lives Matter by any stretch. Is, the fact, the history in schools, and how Black people in a lot of places have actually been depicted as just only as slaves, and no other history, no other information has been offered to the table. Those are just 2 options. And so you might say, oh, well, it doesn't matter because you can go research those things yourself. But then a lot of people and a lot of parents are really relying on the school system, saying that the school systems are going to do what they're supposed to do, believing that, that this is where their child is going to get the information that they need. A lot of parents don't actually know what's being taught or said to children in schools. And I can say this because I've worked as a teacher. I've worked as a teacher in a classroom and everything. And I know that as a teacher, I could say whatever I wanted to in a classroom with children if I wanted to. Now, I wouldn't, because first of all, I'm accountable to God, and I'm just not that person. I came to do my job, and I'm not like dodgy like a lot of people. But a lot of people, and you see a lot of them even on TikTok now, a lot of teachers are taking advantage of the opportunity to indoctrinate, even outside of what the indoctrination that's already embedded into the curriculum. They're indoctrinating them through their own beliefs as teachers and wanting to have their own kind of social action thing. So I think this could be very confusing for children. Number one. Number two, I think there is a lot of influences that take place in school that can be quite negative, because I think one of the things that's interesting to me, especially in connection, like I said, with the child stars that I've spoken about, and how a lot of them have been homeschooled or had to do schooling on set or whatever, is that they still manage to get the qualifications that they need with a significantly less amount of time. And I feel like the amount of time that children spend in schools allows a lot of extra time for a lot of other unhelpful things, a lot of negative influences or negative things. Because if you've got a bunch of children together, right, just unsupervised at a lot of points, they're all going to be sharing whatever unhelpful and ungood, whatever bad things that they find. Obviously, they're curious at that age about lots of different things, about the world, about whatever it is, and it gives opportunity for that. And I think this is why bullying is even possible. Again, bullying is possible because you've got all these different children of all these different backgrounds. A lot of children today, I think, are massively neglected. So you have very vulnerable young people being put in a situation together is not the best. And a lot of people don't enjoy school. A lot of people felt stupid because of school. And a lot of the smartest people in the world ended up actually left school. Actually left school. So again, this is why I think homeschooling is better. I think with homeschooling, as a family, as a husband and a wife, if you both want to spend more time with your children, it gives you a lot more freedom as to how exactly you're going to make that happen. And make sure your kids still get an education. It also gives you freedom in terms of what you want your child to be involved in. If you want them to become an Olympic athlete, you can completely cultivate their whole timetable with school so that they're able to go to all of the trainings they need to go to be a gymnast. Let's say if they want to take up a trade, maybe they want to be a carpenter or something, then again, you can manipulate their whole school schedule to something that suits them. Because I think education is very personal and individual. The more time's going on, the more they're trying to integrate lots of different learning methods for lots of different learning styles. And I think that's because it was never the design for us to have to learn like a one size fits all kind of model, i.e. you guys come in, you have this teacher, they tell you this, you do this exam, and then you do this, and if you get this is how you're ranked off of what you do in an exam. I don't think that makes sense. I think there's many different types of intelligence. I think people have different giftings. I think if you're gifted as, let's say, a carpenter, as I just mentioned, if you're an amazing carpenter, then what on earth is the purpose of you having to do well in science, in like the science subjects, for example? And not to say that it couldn't be helpful, because obviously there's science integrated in there, but I'm sure you can learn that as part of the trade and you'll have to. But why is it that now you have to be an expert in physics and also in like for over here, like English language and all these other things, when you have found something that you are very gifted in and you probably have the intelligence for that thing? I just don't get it. And I feel like it's just unnecessarily breaking people's spirits for no good reason. It's just breaking people's spirits for no good reason. I think it's important for us to learn to read and write, and also it's important for us to learn basic maths and arithmetic and how to, calculate things in life. But a lot of people complain, and I'm somebody who loves maths and science, by the way, just to throw that out there. I absolutely love maths and science. But I'm somebody who, when I hear people say stuff like, I don't understand why I had to learn this and this in maths and stress over it, I'm like, yeah, I don't understand why you did either, actually. I really don't. A lot of the things that I appreciate learning, honestly, I don't necessarily need them. I just liked them or enjoyed them. Some of them I did need, because I did study like chemistry and everything. But do you know what I mean? And so people are being put through this unnecessary stress through school, also being indoctrinated, also being around a whole bunch of potentially unhelpful, unhelpful people who are negative influences to them. And that's what's going on at school. I just don't think that's great. I think it's reducing the responsibility and the accountability of parents. They no longer know what's going on with their children. A lot of parents, I think if parents, and this is the scary thing that I was thinking about the other day, if parents had to actually teach their children like how it always was supposed to be, by the way, which even with the education system, for those of you who don't know, the way that it is now largely started in the United States, and it started because the initial people who came to America, the founding fathers and all of them, they wanted to make America, they wanted to enable people to be able to read the Bible. So that's why they started teaching reading and writing, so people could actually read the Bible. Funny story. But prior to that, and in general, I believe that education was always supposed to be a direct parent to child thing, because as a parent, you're the one who's observed your child from like birth until over the years. You can see their strengths and weaknesses, and you're supposed to cultivate that person. And I think we've lost that cultivation that children need, that come in the form of their parents, where their parents step in and they watch what their child is doing, because a teacher can't do that. A teacher can't even do that with 15 children. You know what I mean? And again, a lot of teachers nowadays, they teach you one specific subject. You might have one teacher for chemistry, one teacher for art, one teacher for physical education, as we call it over here, and all of those kinds of things. It doesn't really, to me, look like a system that is due to make people succeed. It's a system that works to make people probably feel very dumb, and then want to just be an employee of somebody else based on the fact that they think they have nothing special about them. And I actually believe there's something special about everyone. And I think the fact that we're seeing with these celebrities, like I'm saying, that they would not have been able to have the careers they had if they weren't being homeschooled. That's just it. Because education is compulsory, which again, interesting that that's the case. I don't know necessarily if I even necessarily agree with that, to be honest with you. But even over here in the UK, you can actually, in a lot of places, you can easily just homeschool and just say, this is what we're doing, we're homeschooling. And you just let the, I guess, government or whatever know. And you can do that instead of doing, the traditional normal schools, which I know you can do that in the UK as well. But a lot of opportunities open up for children that are homeschooled. From my experience, they genuinely have much more wholesome lives. They genuinely have closer relationships with their parents. They generally have a clearer understanding of where they want to be. They generally get to where they want to be quicker as well. And in a more healthy fashion, and they genuinely are just living happier lives. Because I think a lot of the younger people, a lot of the children in this day and age are very unhappy, and it's sad to see that so many children are unhappy these days. And I do feel for them, and I think a lot of it is coming from the school system and the fact that we have all decided now that we're going to evaluate ourselves based on how well people do in school, and whatever you do and don't do well in school, and that determines everything. And I just think that's wrong. And like I said, if not for homeschooling and other options, a lot of people would not be where they are today. A lot of very successful people, and a lot of those successful people, especially like I said, celebrities, I'm sure are not wondering, oh, I'm sad I never had some of them talk about how they didn't get to, hang out with the kids at school and they missed it. Don't get me wrong. But like I said, even with the things in school is not this like positive environment where you're being around other children is always a good thing. Personally, I'm starting to think that the being able to be capable of choosing exactly who my children are going to be around, even because I would take my children obviously to whatever they want to do. If they want to do football, if they want to do cheerleading, if they want to do whatever they want to do, I'll take them. But then again, because they're homeschooled and because I'm in control, I can be there. I can see who they're making friends with. I can make sure that they're staying around people that are a good influence, because the truth is there are a lot of bad influences in school, but the bad influences that come from other children a lot of the time is just because they're just another neglected child passing on the bad things that they have. And you just have a lot of that in schools, and I think that's very unhelpful. And it's actually very easy to build a community if you want to take that accountability. Obviously, it's a lot more effort, and this is why I said that if people had to actually teach their own children, I don't think that a lot of people would be having children, because they would have to take up all of that work. And so even just this reliance, again, and I talk about reliance on these world systems all the time, the reliance on the school system is a way for people to kind of want to have children or be a parent without actually having to do the job, if that makes sense. So I kind of find an issue with that, and I don't think that's for the best. So yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts about homeschooling and everything. You guys let me know if that's something you would consider. I definitely plan on homeschooling all of my children, by the way. And that's something I've been planning towards for years now, because I just knew, and the more that time goes on, the surer that I am that that's the right decision. So you guys let me know in the comment section down below. Obviously, no hard feelings, by the way. If you do take your children to school, there are great teachers and good schools and things like that out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's the only option. But at the same time, There are a lot of bad things that go on in schools as well, and it's not all that it cracks out to be. And if your child wants to be a superstar or a lot of other jobs out there, maybe going to public school or even just a school in general is not the best choice. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you have enjoyed this video, and like the video if you did like it. Other than that, God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.